Well, this is a good way to build up the season finale. How's everyone doing today, guys? My name's Goads, and yeah, and pretty much that's what this episode is for The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 14, Tipping Point, which, very fitting, because, like I said, this really does feel like the setup for the finale. I mean, and a part of me is wondering if, like, they were gonna... I mean, granted, the next week both episodes are gonna be released at once. So I wonder if it makes more sense. It's gonna make more sense that next week's 2 episodes needed to be released like that. Because I'm wondering if they wanted to release all 3 of these. Because again, like, most of this episode is just building up the basically what's going to be the big mission, which is getting the Bad Batch, getting Crosshairs out of Mount Tantiss. getting him out of that facility, Mount Tantiss, where Nalisa is, and a lot of clones are, and a few other things, including like Dr. Hemlock. And Dr. Carr, I think, is the other woman's name. Or I think I don't know if she's a doctor or an assistant. I just know that's one of the other people there. But, yeah, that's pretty much what although it does set it up, I do like how we open with Echo, Gregor... Echo and Gregor, which is already fun. And then a couple of our clones, Nemec and Fireball. That's a freaking cool name. Just... raiding this Imperial ship that is transporting 3 clone troopers that have basically turned against the Empire, one of which is Hauser from the Ryloth storyline last season, which was really cool. I'm glad we continued that. And just seeing all these clones just working together, just helping each other, rescuing, and then they're trying to, and then Echo is trying to access the database, but the Imperials were like, no, we gotta destroy it before they get it, and it's like, okay, so what is it? But Echo is able to retrieve some of it, and it's a really cool sequence. I really like the way, one, they get the ship, they have a ship, and they basically, the plan is, they have a little, like a little small escape pod kind of ship, dock on the top of the Imperial cruiser, and then the main ship docks on the bottom, so you're gonna have a war on 2 fronts kind of situation there, and it works. It's a great plan, and I love just how quick it is and how cool it is, and just, I mean, because it's clones, how efficient it is. And yeah, but unfortunately for them, they don't get all the data, and the Imperial officer that was on the ship actually kills himself with one of the shocking pill, or whatever the freaking heck it's called. I don't know. That's such a terrifying way to go. I mean, I know there's you got the cyanide, you have the cyanide pills that that people would bite into during the war, so they couldn't talk, but it's just something about you bite down on this and you get electrocuted. Ugh, that's just, but so that's what we get for Echo and the crew, and basically Echo, he gets the data, but he says it's heavily encrypted, but he knows someone who's gonna crack it, which of course is Tech, and that's how we get Echo back with the crew, who are currently on Pabu, because last episode they were talking about, helping Pabu out after the disaster, and I love Wrecker just being so happy, just helping out. Like, he's fishing, he gets in a big haul, which is great. Hunter seems to be very comfortable. Omega and Tech are having fun with Omega learning to fly the Marauder. I love how they're just zooming around, and Omega's just so comfortable, and he's just gripping his seat, just like, oh dear. But I like how though he's so concerned and like scared, he is still giving her like a few compliments, and he's having a little bit of fun too. Like, I like, one of my favorite lines is, and honestly, this got me good. It was just, just Omega's doing like a few maneuvers. She's going down, she does a dive bomb and just pulls up real quickly towards the water, and then she's like, I'm doing great, but the collision sensors haven't gone off, and then Tech's like, that's because they were disabled on your last run. I'm like, it's this that got me, and then but Tech at the same time is just still encouraging her and agreeing that yes, she is getting better, and then I love how. He's like, well, I want you to get back to the island where do this maneuver, do this maneuver. Basically, like, shut off the engines, do a hard 180, and just fire, and just blast off. And then I love, oh my god, just being like, the Tech turn? And then Tech's like, that's not what it's called. Though I do like it. And I'm like, I just love that. I love those little moments. It's just, again, it's not really big in terms of like story. It's just a nice building relationship moments. Like last episode with freaking Wrecker being full. Like for some people, like okay, sure, he is full for the first time, big whoop. But for like them, it's like, oh wow, he is full. That's crazy. But I love how I love that Omega is still continuing with their training as she promised Echo, who then arrives, and she's just so happy to see him. It's great, honestly. It's funny too. Like Omega's like, we missed you so much, but Echo's like, I haven't been gone for long, and I'm like, yeah, technically speaking, he hasn't. I mean, we've only had, we had the one mission on the desert planet with that one group that stole the Marauder. Then we had the Zillaby situation, then we had, this, and then this with Pabu. I mean, because for all we know, the thing that happened with Crosshair could have been happening at the same time with the Zillaby, or it could have been happening at the same time with the Pabu thing, so who knows? Although, Sid said it had been 20 rotations since they last contacted her, so it's only been, for one person, it can feel like a long time, but another person like Echo, it's probably like, 20, it's been like, what, like 30 rotations? Oh, that's not too long. I'm like, yeah, but for Omega, I feel like every single day feels super big for her and super long, so for her, probably what is 30 rotations feels like a very long time, especially with her not having the age acceleration, whereas the clones do. So for clones, their age acceleration probably makes things feel a lot quicker. But all right, enough talk with that. Wrecker, Hunter, Tech, Omega, they're reunited with Echo. They're just catching up, and then Hunter, asking Echo how things have been, helping clones, and Echo's just like, we're continuing to find clones all over. There's so many that are going against orders. They're challenging, questioning the authority of the Empire and all that. And Hunter's like, do you really think you can actually beat the Empire? It's like, what you're up against. And it's like, it's kind of like, what's this really for? Is it for the clones? Is it like a rebellion? And then Echo kind of calls it out too. He's like, this is for our brothers. These are literally our brothers that are being imprisoned, that are being taken, that are being sometimes executed for simply questioning questioning orders. Like, it's funny how, I remember in Clone Wars, when we had the Umbara storyline where, Rexon the 501st got a new general, and he was super strict, and he basically was ordering them on suicide runs, and he even pinned their own squads against each other because he never saw the clones as more than just tools of a war. Anakin, on the other hand, he saw these clones, and he saw them as people. He saw them as his friends. He saw them as those he was not going to sacrifice. And he hated it. He hated when he had to make a choice that maybe would risk the lives of his men, because he knew that their lives were sacred, because these are literally men who were bred for war and didn't really have a choice in the matter. And so now they're being questioned. Now they're questioning, what's it all for? So I can see why, and Echo and Hunter for that moment are like, what's really important right now? Is it, because Hunter, they originally defected from the Empire to save Omega. now what are they doing? It's like all the while, but of course, when it comes to figuring things out, they kind of figure things out when it comes to Crosshair, because after they crypted to some of the message, but then Tech finds on one of their old comm channels that Crosshair, who he is at this he's at this facility on Mount Tantiss, where he's being interrogated by Hemlock, who is wondering where Clone Force 99 is. He's like, where the heck are? He was like, tell me where they are, and I will let you go. I will give you a clean slate, all of that. And then they're like, what do you want with them? And he's like, they have something of value. And then he's like, the kid, and he's like, yes, because she is a clone. She's Imperial property. It's like, we need, it's like, we need to retrieve it. And I love Crosshair just really like, you're wasting your time. It's just like, yeah, they are kind of hard to find. But unfortunately for Hemlock, he's not buying it. He wants to get through Crosshair, whether that means torturing him to the max. I mean, because they dropped this little tidbit that he was expelled from he was kicked out of the Republic for his experiments. I'm like, okay, that's never a good sign. And yeah, and just seeing what he does with this, with the interrogating droid, and even there's a moment where Crosshair tries an escape attempt, and I love how dumb the troopers are, yet how clever Crosshair is. He's on this table, he's kind of a little he's dozing off a little bit because he's been drugged, yet he still manages to swipe this dude's blaster, kill the troopers in the room. He stuns Dr. Carr, because Carr, she honestly, of everyone at this facility, she seems kind of on the fence with a few of these things. Like when it comes to, Crosshair's torture, she kind of, she's like, I can't interrogate him when he's dead. It's like, so she stops the torture and kind of takes off his restraints, which gave Crosshair the opportunity to swipe a blaster. So I don't know if she purposely did that, or if she was just kind of sympathetic towards Crosshair. It's like they kind of focused on her a little bit, so I'm wondering what her deal is. But yeah, no, Crosshair, he gets out, he goes to one of the comm links, and he just says Plan 88, and I forget what he said after that, but basically he just gives the Bad Batch like, I'm in trouble, come and get me, be wary, there's a lot of, this is a dangerous environment. And then when the gas came, and then Dr. Hemlock is like, he doesn't care when Crosshair did that. At first I'm thinking like, is this his plan? Was he hoping for Crosshair to go and contact his brothers to lure them here? Which could have been part of the plan. But then he gasses the room, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, I thought it was knockout gas, but then it's kind of knockout gas, but Dr. Hemlock just strolls on in, and I'm like, wait, how enough? Is it like is it just targeted towards clones? But then he's like, I developed an immunity to this. I'm like, oh geez, that's weird and creepy. Like, gah. And honestly, I'll say this about Dr. Hemlock, whereas Rampart I felt like Rampart, they didn't really do much with him, and even the scenes that he had, he was like, he kind of felt like the typical, the typical military jerk who doesn't really care, but his lines and voice never really gave much of like a menacing threat. He was more of just like, oh yeah, that guy. Dr. Hemlock is slow. I mean, he hasn't been in many episodes, but this episode really got me creeped out about what this man is capable of. Like I said, he was kicked out of the Republic for his experiments. He is immune to a toxin that he himself created. So I am very curious as to what else he could be doing, which, of course, seeing how in the mid-season finale we had the one clone trooper who had no number. He was just like some agent. He was kind of like, he killed himself after he was caught. He said he was a believer. So I'm wondering if that was Hemlock's work, because along with capturing Crosshair, he also has a call with Governor Tarkin, and he's talking about how like these more and more clones are questioning their loyalty. It's like we can't just simply decommission them. We gotta do something more. And he's like, I'm wondering if he's like gonna start making like, I don't know if it's like a Dark Trooper thing or I think it's like Dark Troopers, like first generation Dark Troopers, who are not entirely droids. They're made like they're like partially men, and that would be a messed up thing to have. Kind of like a bunch of like maybe Echo kind of people, just like a bunch of droid-esque clones working for the Empire. They don't question their orders at all. They're just sent out to do their missions, whether it means they're going to die or just going to do something horrible. I don't know. It's creepy and it's scary, and I don't know what they're going to do with it. But right now, the Bad Batch knows where they know that Crosshair is in trouble and they got to go get him. But of course, at the same time, they're like, is it a trap? Is this like, is Crosshair really, does he need our help? Did he actually defect from the Empire, or is this some big trap? And it's like, guess you guys are gonna find out next week in the 2-part season finale. At least that's what I think. And yeah, no, I think this was, again, I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a good episode, but really by the time this episode ended, I'm like, this really just felt like a build up to next week. So next week, when the 2 episodes come out, I might be like, should I watch this first? Should I watch Tipping Point and then immediately go into this? Or should I just watch these next 2 episodes and then go back to Tipping Point and see if it fits? That's me. But I don't know. What do you guys think?